Okay, I'm very excited about our next session. Guy I've known for many years, and he's always impressed me. He's just wickedly smart in so many areas of digital marketing, but he's very much lives and breathes the 80-20 principle. He gets amazing results, but he does it in a very efficient way, with minimal type effort. And as a result of that, he's been able to create an amazing business and live a great lifestyle at the same time. So I think you're really going to get great value out of this session. It's with great pleasure that I say welcome, James.
Thanks, Greg.
How are you, buddy?
Alrighty, we'll get straight into it. So this is me circa 2006. I had a job just like a lot of other people did, and I was sort of over it. I don't know if you can relate to that. Suit, tie, working for someone else, getting paid by one person, and working with the big bureaucratic, difficult, arrogant German company. I'll let you guess who it is. Good products, but really hard to work for. So I needed to change. So at night, I started my online business, and I knew that I could crack it, but it was really difficult. I could see that other people could solve this riddle. It made sense, but it was very difficult, and some people are at various stages in that process. Maybe you've figured it out, maybe you haven't, but the good news is I did figure it out. Of course, money just came flying out of the computer with ease. Not quite. There was a big process. I'm not going to bore you with that, but I did quit my job, and I built a lot of websites after that. I've tried so many different business models. I've pretty much spent my own money investing in education on how to run paid advertising. I spent up to a couple of $1,000s a day at one point as a professional affiliate marketer. I wrote this huge map. This is called the Spaghetti Bowl, but it was a course called Traffic Grab, and it was really covering every type of traffic you could ever imagine. And from all of that, where I'm at now is I've streamlined it down to just the things that work, and that's what I'll be talking about today. Does that sound good? All right, so for me, it's about money and time and creative freedom. I don't want to put on a suit and tie. I don't want to go and work for 12 hours a day. I'm at a point in my life where I figure I'm probably maybe at the halfway mark that I want to create and design a lifestyle that works for me and then have the business fund that. So just out of curiosity, raise your hand if you could do, if you'd be happy with $100,000, hand up, per month. Profit. Okay, so anyone who didn't raise their hand, feel free, this is not the session for you. And if you'd like to work your own hours and schedule if you feel like it. So that's where I'm at the moment, and I'm going to just basically take you through the exact system that I have that does this. The good news is it's not going to be particularly difficult. It's not overly complex. It might be actually astoundingly simple, and that's really when you break it all down. If you've tried everything that I've tried, and then you throw out most of it, you'll get to what I'm going to be covering today. Okay, so I'm really going to be talking about creating your own compounding web assets. And it really is like taking a snowflake and building a snowball out of it. Just keep building it and building it and building it. And that's what I've been doing, and it's very effective. It's actually what I call a low-pressure system. You will have heard a lot about paid traffic and complicated business models where you have to, stock things and have logistics, and it does sound like hard work, and it is. I'm not really into that hard work aspect. I like to have, there is a price to have to manage all this paid traffic campaigns and everything else. There's a price to putting energy into research and stuff. So if you can just boil it down to the simple stuff and start there and have a longer term approach, you could end up with something very similar to what I have. So my first tip it's not to publish infographics. For some reason that slide's there, but my first tip is that it's a marathon, not a sprint, okay? You want to be looking a lot longer term. So many people are at the point where they're thinking, well, next week or today or whatever. So any type of opportunity that pops up that is promising you to get rich today, you could pretty much filter that out as being irrelevant to you. Does this stuff work? Yes. I've created lots and lots of millionaires and doubled, tripled, quadrupled businesses by applying the exact same stuff that I'm sharing with you today. It absolutely works. Of course, it's easy if you're the second mouse. Okay, second mouse gets the cheese. Today you're the second mouse because I've already triggered plenty of mouse traps and there's plenty of things you can do wrong, and I'm just going to share the stuff that you can do right. So the first huge mistake, this is the big one that pretty much most marketers are making, and that is they're putting all their best content on someone else's platform. You'll hear people putting out courses about being a great Facebook marketer or YouTube marketer or an Amazon marketer. Fantastic, but it's not your asset. And when the rules change, you have no control over it, so it's not very good for you. If you're putting all your best pictures on Instagram and all your best written essays on Facebook or all your best videos on YouTube, what asset are you building for yourself? You're playing in someone else's playing field, and if they don't like it, they can turn it off. And that often happens. You'll see people on Facebook, ironically, they'll be saying, oh, Google just shut off my account, or Facebook just closed my account, or YouTube just stopped my channel. You know, my life is ruined, those bastards. Well, whose fault is it really? If you go and play in someone else's place and they change the rules, that's your fault. So I come up with this idea, Own the Racecourse, and it was really drilled into me at the dealership, actually, where you want to control as many of the things as possible and have everyone else playing in your playing field if possible, where you get to set the rules. So put your assets on your own website. So I'm just going to tell you how this works so well. You might be familiar with the hunter or the farmer analogy for selling. Now, hunting is where you go out and you have to get the new customer. And this is where 99.9% of people in online space are focused. What's the best sales hook? What's the best advertising strategy? How do we get new customers? What's your conversion rate? You know, what's your funnel? All this stuff, that's all focused on hunting, 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 hunting. They have to go and get the next kill. They've got this big launch. So they do this big launch, they spike the market, they suck the money out of it, and then nothing. So first real point that should come through here is you want to focus a little more on the farming side, and that's where you're dealing with the same customers over and over again, where you nurture and grow. You can then continually monetize the same audience, and the way that you do that is have recurring programs. So if you can possibly move from one-time billing to recurring billing, see if you can come up with a way to do that. That's my first huge giveaway, because 90% of my business is recurring. That means if I want to go surfing today or tomorrow or the next day, I can, because I'm still going to have money coming into the account because I made a sale at some point in the past. Now, the system I'm talking about really caters well for hunting and farming all at the same time. How convenient is that? So Penfolds Grange is a pretty famous wine in Australia, and it takes a long time to grow. Okay, you got the grapes, and then you have to make the wine, and then it has to. In fact, the guy Max Schubert actually made it in secret because the Penfolds guy said, "This is terrible. Don't make it. Stop making it, Max." And he persisted stubbornly, and he kept it hidden. And then when he put in a contest, and it won, and then Penfolds was like, "Oh, I'm glad you kept going with it. I knew you would." And this stuff's like. You know, now it's really valuable, but it had to be made a long time ago. So that's what we're doing. We're thinking the long term. So this is the marathon, not a sprint, okay? Now, I'm going to set the tracks for you. And the key here is when you write down these ideas, if they resonate with you, if they make sense, if they sound like something that you could do and that you think you could get a result from it, you really should commit to that like a train track. All you have to do once the tracks are set is roll along it. And my greatest concern is that tomorrow or the next day, you're going to get some inbox offer. It'll tell you to go and click on the link. You'll watch a video without any player controls. They'll tell you you can be rich tomorrow. And the next thing, you're starting a whole new business model and you forget everything I talk about. That's my biggest concern. Because this stuff works. This stuff generates millions of dollars per year, and you can write your own schedule if you want to follow these tracks. So here are the tracks. So first tip, set rails and don't change them until at least 12 weeks. That's the time frame that I look for, 12 weekly stations. Consider it like my track to the next station. I'm going to the next station. You want me to speak in an event? You want me to do a joint venture? You want me to promote a product? Let me just keep that aside, and I'll review it in 12 weeks from now, okay? I'm not even going to think about it because I've got my track set. So you need your own platform. If you're a blog or an information product, you're probably going to be looking at WordPress. If you're an e-commerce store, then you might be looking at a Shopify or a Magento with perhaps a WordPress blog on a subdomain, which is the most common setup that my e-commerce customers have. Now, WordPress is a great platform. You want it to be fast. You have to have your site loading within a second or two. If it's 5 or 10 or 14 or 20 seconds, you're losing sales. You're making it difficult for people to consume your information. Pingdom Speed Tools is a good way to go and just have a quick look. So my site loads in about 1.3 seconds, and that's going to do the job. You want your site to work on any device. It's absolutely critical because we know that, I think it's 80-something%, 86 or 80-something, Greg will probably tell you because he went to the Google thing with me and he probably took notes. But pretty much everyone is using a small device and a big device on the same day. They're on the mobile, they're on the desktop, they're on the laptop, maybe they're on a TV, but you need to make sure your site looks good on anything. That's called responsive design. So you've got your website. What are you going to put on it? It's really simple. We're just going to put content on it. It's an easy term to bandy around, but I'm going to dig deeper into that. So you put images, you put video, you put audio, you put text. You can put any one of those, but I recommend you get as many of those as you can. It's like extra bonus points because some people like to consume information in different ways. Some people are very visual. And you'll see like some markets like handbags and stuff, you're going to see sites like Pinterest driving a lot of traffic because it's a very visual market. Some people are very text heavy, like the copywriters. They love to write stuff. And then some people are very, very auditory. They like to listen. And podcasting market's huge, and we'll dig into that as well. And then there's video, of course. The average American spends like 6 or 7 hours a day watching videos. That's a lot. So you can be in front of that. Then, of course, with our site, we want to actually make some money from it. So we want to have a free offer, and we want to build our database. The database could really be viewed as the most significant asset that you have. That email list that you can contact where you know things about them is your number one asset because you can just send an email and have people do things. So what sort of hooks work well? What can you offer up as your free course? In my case, we're going to go and do a little case study on my own website. This website generates several $1 million a year. It makes more than $1 million in profit, so it's probably a good starting point, right? And it can be run, with an hour or two a day if you want, or not. So I offer a free course. I took an old product that I had, which is a multi-part course, about 10 modules, and I just give it away. At one point, I was doing it for customers for about $6,000 a month as a service. Then I productized that into a one-day training course, which I sold for about $3,000. Then I gave it to my paid members of my private coaching community, and so that community costs about $79 a month. And then I gave it away for free. So that's the life cycle of this product. So at one point it was worth $6,000 a month as a done-for-you service, and it still is today because not many businesses are doing what I'm talking about here. But I give this away, and I've given it away to about 15,000 people now. My goal is to give away as many of this course as I possibly can to have people enter my database. So pick your best material and give it away. That's the first step. If people click on the link, they get this little box that pops up, and all they have to do is put their email, make it very easy, low friction for people to get this. If my computer, if their computer's been to my site, or if they've gotten anything else of mine, it'll actually remember their email address and pre-populate it like it has done in this example. And all they have to do is click one button, send my training. Have you noticed that's customer focused? It's not send your training, send my training. So that's a subtle tip there. Next thing is we want to make some money, so we're going to have some things to sell, and I do recommend you have subscription services if possible. Anything where people can pay more than once is ideal. If you happen to be in the service business, package your services. So how can one guy in Australia be selling services where obviously humans have to provide it? Well, I have a team of around 50 people in the Philippines, and we package up our services into chunks of deliverables, and the team is managed and run a sort of self-contained unit, and my job is to speak to the managers, which I do about 15 minutes a week each, and there's about 6 managers. And then, of course, I'm available if they get stuck in between. So productized services. So if you're a service provider, that's a really important thing. So let's see how it works. How do people get to my products? Well, the latest version of my site has a selector at the very top of the site. So we don't want people to even have to scroll to be able to find out what they can go and buy. I want them to be able to see it straight away. And we have nice clear icons indicating what different sections we have. And at this stage, it's, picking from a broad range. This is called a product chooser. We have to try and funnel people into the right section. So if you think about it, I'm actually doing affiliate recommendations, website services, content provision, SEO, high-end coaching and low-end coaching, all from one site. Now, they used to be on separate sites, and I can tell you that when I consolidated them into one site, aside from the complexity of having to try and get people where they want to go as easily as possible, it also gave me the benefit of having all that traffic to be able to cross-sell. Now, I call this philosophy a chocolate wheel, where you have the customer in the middle and you've got all the different segments of the wheel that they can experience, much like a dealership, funnily enough. Someone buys a car, then they have to service it, or they want parts, or they come in for parts and then they want to refinance their car, or they refinance their car and then they want to trade it for a used car, or they get a used car to a new, or they want to service it, and so on. And I found with the dealership, they were treating it like there's 6 different customers, but it's the same person. So you put your customer in the middle and you have all these things that you can provide them. So the key to my business is that I have all these products and services that the same customer can consume. If you are dealing with different types of customers, if you've got wholesale and retail customers, or you have completely separate markets, then you've really got 2 completely separate business divisions, and you're going to have to switch between them and you'll lose time and energy. So I highly recommend you consolidate down to where you're only dealing with one core customer. Is this good so far? Okay. So let's drill down into one of these navigation tabs and see what happens. So I'm clicking on the website services, and now we're getting the themed website services. They're all the same color. So we're starting to create an impression, a design impression that we're in this section. So they're color coded. Now, I draw your attention to the bottom of that page. A live chat option starts to appear. So as soon as someone digs into a specific product section, now we're turning on live chat. Okay, so we're getting the next level of interaction. I don't want live chat on my homepage because they're not qualified. And remember that a lot of people aren't coming to your homepage anyway. I bet half your traffic's coming to inner pages of your site. So if someone comes to the services site now, they can engage with live chat. We can engage with them, which we do about 8 or 9 hours a day on weekdays. And then when we're not there, it turns into leave a message. The next stage is we go and we say we want to purchase a pre-done website. Say we like my template and we want to buy this exact website, and we can for $299. We now get to a checkout page, and on the checkout page we have phone numbers with country flags so that people can resonate that we are actually serving their market. They trust us more even if they don't call the number, because now they know that we're a legitimate business with a phone number they can ring up. And some segments of your market, especially oldies or nervous buyers, the ones who don't want to put their credit card online, they're the ones who will really be welcoming these sort of indicators. And now we've moved the chat option up higher, so it's much more visible. So we're making it easy for someone to talk to us if they want to buy something. Plus, to get to this page, we've already now added a follow-up. We've put a checkout abandonment sequence. If we already know their email address, they've been tagged, and if they don't buy this product, we're definitely going to follow them up with an email, which will be very simple. Are we still interested in that website? ? Okay. Just a few more elements. On the homepage, underneath the blog post, we have this very visible, next thing. And we found that big squares with pink, we've been heat mapping this. This is one of the most lit up sections of the page. People like the front page. They see, what else have you got? And they're clicking through and they're going through the next 2 or 3 pages, building up the page views. So make it really easy for people to get to the next page. We've got this recommended posts. Now, this is kind of sneaky and cool. These recommended posts, they're not just the most viewed or whatever. These posts are the ones that convert the most opt-ins by percentage. So I've actually got a plugin that does this. It's a custom written plugin, but you could do it anyway. If you go and do a little content drill down and you look by conversion percentage, if you sort by conversion percentage, they're the ones you want to sticky on your homepage, because these ones are proven to convert. The market's already told you they're the most interested in this stuff. And here's a little tip. Boost these posts. That's where you run your Facebook ads to. These are the ones that you run your traffic to because they convert better. These are the ones people want to know. And what we'll do in a little bit is we'll go and follow one of those posts and we'll see how it's laid out and how it converts so well. There's one thing that converts more than 80%, which is pretty phenomenal, wouldn't you agree? 80%? Right, so then there's the about thing. It's really important that you start to personalize even on your homepage. So you put a picture of the founder or owner or the team or something to personalize it. Make it human. It's not like they're not there to find out about you necessarily, but what I did find from working with an injury lawyer for the last 7 years is that of all things that someone wants to know about when they're looking to hire an injury lawyer, they want to know who their lawyer is. They want to see them. They want to find out about them. And we got a long way down the track by making a little documentary where the lawyers were talking about why they chose to go into that profession, where a lot of people, don't really rate injury lawyers. Some people call them ambulance chasers or whatever. But some people actually get into it because they experienced, a genuine trauma, or they knew someone and they felt they wanted to do something about it. And that message just lifted conversions. So what do you have on this page? Definitely get some professional images, okay, on your About page, and make it about the customer. You'll notice this says, how can Superfast Business help you? So it's not really all about us, it's about how can we help you? Why are we a good person to solve your problem? And the next thing is, I think that every single website should have at least an hour's worth of material that someone can consume without having to opt in that helps them understand more about you. So in this case, I took a video presentation that I gave at an event a few years ago, which outlined the story of Superfast Business, how I got to build this business. Because some people want that. They want to know who they're dealing with. Other people don't care. They only care about their problem. So if you want to warm the audience up, put yourself on camera if you possibly can, but otherwise audio is fine. And let this be on your About page, at least an hour's worth of content. This video, I've had people say that they just started it and they watched the whole thing and now they feel like they know you and they get you and they trust you and they want to buy from you. All right, so other elements. We have infographics. I can tell you infographics are super, super awesome because it just seems it's such a visual medium. People can scan it without having to commit too much time, and we don't have too much time, right? So what my team do, and this is the best thing, it's very leveraged for me, they go out and research something, they collate a Google document with the bullet points, they'll send me an email saying for draft approval, I'll read it and I'll say, okay, and then they'll go and illustrate it and then they'll put it on the website. And so I haven't had to do much except type OK. Who thinks they could do that? Right, one person thinks they could do that. I have grave concerns for the rest of you. So infographics are good too because they get shared, and I'm going to prove it to you with one of the research tools we can use to analyze what content works well. Now there's a whole lot of questions. How do you make infographics? What tool do you use is the one I get the most. My team just uses Photoshop. There's all sorts of things like PictoChart, and there's visually, and there's lots of tools you can get, and there's graphic designers you can hire, and that's not the important part. The important part is you want to make sure you got infographics, because I can tell you it's very time leverage for you, and it works supremely well, and it's what I've been doing for pretty much the last 6 months is that. Now, another way that you can generate cool infographics, and I just did this a few times, I've done it about 5 or 6 times, and it works really, really well. Every time I go and speak on someone else's podcast or speak at someone else's event, even here, I can take the audio recording from this, give it to my team, they'll go through it and they'll summarize the key bullet points, and luckily for you, I'm highlighting the big tips. They would turn that into an infographic. So I'm leveraging a byproduct from my original time investment. Does that make sense? Who thinks they could use that tomorrow? So anytime you're doing anything, just take notes or get a recording and pass it off to someone in your content team or your marketing assistant or your virtual assistant or a contractor or a transcription service like rev.com who will charge $1 a minute. So if you did a 1-hour presentation and you gave them the transcript of the audio of that, then for $60 you could have it fully written out. That can turn into blog posts, infographics, videos, you name it. All right, so tip, publish infographics. You really want to come away with that on your train tracks. This is something you have to do in the next 12 weeks. Next we've got podcasting, and I'm really into the podcasting. I'm about to reveal why. I'll show you how this works. So I'm using a purple icon because that's what the same color that Apple used. So I'm using convention here. Someone goes to my site, they're going to scan there. It's going to look and feel like an Apple iTunes logo. Now, podcasts are fantastic because you can access experts, you can get really good information. And here's the thing too, you can combine your podcast with your infographics. You can create infographics from your podcast. So the last few podcasts I did, I've created infographics from it. You can podcast with famous people. You can podcast with people on the other side of the world using Skype. You can sit there and just talk to yourself and record it. And I often do. In fact, what I'll do now is when we get an infographic, if I like it, then I'll just record me talking through the infographic for people who prefer to listen. So being sympathetic to people's modality is going to get you a wider audience resonation. So here are some of the podcasts we've done. You'll notice that we've got different types of thumbnail images. Having good thumbnail images halved our bounce rate. So a big tip here is you must always have an image on your post. Must always. Because it's really easy, and you'll see, when you go to share that on social media, it's going to pull the image out of the post and put it onto the other platforms. So now, just to recap, instead of us going and putting our video or our audio or our infographic straight into Facebook, now we put it on our site, and then we're going to share it on social media. And we're going to let them know that it's here, and we're going to bring them back to our site, because then we can tag them with our remarketing cookie. Then we can grab them on our email list. Oh, and they can see what products we have to sell, because ultimately, isn't that what we want? And when you think about it, it makes so much sense. You wonder why people put all their best stuff straight on Facebook. It's as if they like spending 14 hours a day there, and they just want the attention of having all the likes and the thumbs up. Hey, so you can go down to the supermarket and buy your groceries and say, it's fine, I've got 300 thanks to pay for those groceries. Or you could just use your card, which has money in the bank from your website. I like money more than likes. So put your stuff on your site. Okay, this is what a podcast might look like. Or you're going to have the ability for people to stream it right there on your site. So don't make it hard for them, make it easy. I'm just using a plugin called Blueberry, and it's just a WordPress plugin, and you just tell it where the podcast is hosted. I'm using Amazon S3 to host it. They can play it on the site, or they can download it. When I took away the option to download, they all complained about it. I put it back, and they're happy. It tells them how long it is, how big the file is. It's very user-friendly. And of course, they can click on the link, and they can go and look at it in their Apple iTunes device, which is kind of what you want after they've been to your site, because once they subscribe to your podcast, they can then now, every time you update an episode, they can get a little notification on their phone that there's a new episode, and it's really easy to reach them. So you've had them subscribe to the feed in iTunes, it's going to push that episode out to them. So it's a push notification, and that's what you really want. Also, use these podcasts to earn you an income. So if I interview a guy from Lead Pages, the founder of it, Clay Collins, I'm going to put an affiliate link to Lead Pages. And what do you know? You're going to make sales. Last year, I made over $100,000 commission from Lead Pages just because I podcasted with Clay maybe 4 or 5 times. So it's a very good return on investment, wouldn't you say? 4 or 5 hours, $100,000. Who's up for that? Yep. Just checking. Okay, and then underneath the show, you summarize what's in the show. This is good. It's going to get you search engine love from Google, because they can find out what your website's about. People searching for the phrases, for the type of information that you're providing, will find it because it's indexed in the search engine. And it's very courteous to give them a timeline and what's there. So, you know, you're valuing people's time. You're saying, oh, look, you don't have unlimited time. So if you wanted to find out about just this, then go to this part of the audio. Of course, they're going to listen to the rest and then go back and listen to the start. And I'm sure the copywriters in the room, of which there's probably a few, are thinking this is a good way to put little bullets and hooks. And these could translate very nicely into the email about the podcast. So it's a great way to package your audio. And then, of course, put calls to action. Every single post on my website has a very specific instruction of what people should do next if they'd like to get more help. It might be a link to the affiliate product, it might be a link to, and more often than not, it's linking to something of mine that relates to this. So that's that. Then, of course, we have the option for people to get the transcription. Now, this is fascinating, and I'm going to give you some statistics on this later. But firstly, huge conversions. Secondly, the transcription is actually on the page as well as available via PDF. However, people put in their email address and get the PDF. And I'm not sure why, but let's consider it a Trojan horse. We're now putting our piece of content with our call to action on their computer. When they go away from this browser, they've now got our piece of content sitting on their computer. So people like to collect, they like to gather, they want to jam that hard drive full of PDFs. I imagine you're different to that. You probably don't have your computer hard drive jammed full of PDFs, audios and videos that you'll never ever watch. But for other people, they do. And you want to facilitate that, make it easy for them to collect. Now, you do want comments at this stage. There's a bit of a revolution. Some people saying turn off comments. That's great if you don't care about your audience. But for now, these are search engine findable. It's saying that you care, you want to participate in the discussion. You're finding out what you missed in your content. Sometimes they ask a question that you can then go and readdress in your content and add something or that you didn't think about. And also underneath that, it shows what other posts you have that are of a similar type of content. Now for this, I'm using DISQUS. It's called DISQUS. It's a plugin, and this is going to get rid of all your spammy stuff. Don't use Facebook comments. You're going to get spammed, and they're not search engine readable often. You don't want the WordPress native comments because it's too hard for people to register. You want DISQUS because I know for a fact it creates conversions. It's easier for people to share. Once they subscribe, they'll get notified of updates. They can see all your other posts. You can see all their other posts. It's just a much better tool, so I'm really, really happy with this tool. All right, so other little elements that are interesting. At the bottom of a post, we make it easy again for people to find the next post. Remember, we want more page views, more engagement, more exposure. So big, clear next post, last post indicators. And then, of course, on every single page of my site, every single blog post, I want people to know what I sell, so I've got that little menu again. This used to be on a sub-page. We used to have a sub-page for products, but I just said, you know what, let's just bring it to the top level. So now you'd find it hard to go to any page on my site where I'm not telling you what we sell, unless you're in a very deep page where you're about to buy something, where we take away every other option except for the checkout possibility. And then we start adding in the contact mechanisms to make it easy for you if you get stuck. Okay, so what else have we got here? We've got another little call to action for the free training. It's just a nice, discreet little link, but you click on it and it's another way for us to capture that. So you remember it was at the very top of the page, and it's also just natively built in. And what I found is native text links are very, very effective. People like to click on links that look natural and navigate and get free training. That's a reasonable proposition. So you might be wondering, this little experiment of mine, which has gone on about 3 years, if you would go to Google and do a site check, there's now like 11,200 pages or tags or posts indexed in Google. So you want to talk about search engine optimization. This thing is just like a SEO magnet. It's just full of text, it's full of videos, full of images, full of audios, and it's just a feast for people. So I'm ranking for all sorts of phrases because of the transcriptions, because of the bullets, and because it's easy to find, because it loads quickly, because it works on any device. So just a little quick recap. How are we going so far? Good, all right. Podcasting. So just to show you how powerful this is, like in May, I had 72,000 people listen to my podcast that month. So it's like, 2,000 people a day? More than 2,000 people. Like that's quite a lot if you think about it, of someone committing to listening to you between their two ears. And it's such a powerful medium. I can tell you just about every single person in my highest level mastermind, which is called Silver Circle, has come from listening to me on podcasts. And it becomes like a show. It becomes like a TV character. They get to know you. They understand who you are. They listen to your stories. You reveal truth, you get raw, you have emotion, you be vulnerable, you give insights, you argue against conventional wisdom. You be contrarian. You can put your point of view across in that audio medium. People can hear you. They can tell if you're telling the truth. They can tell if you're unsure about something. So it's such a personal medium. But it's also one of the easiest ways to create content. I would rather speak than any other format. I can't really type. And I don't mind making videos, but there's a little more setup. You need lights and you need cameras and stuff. Just having a good quality microphone is as easy as buying a lavalier mic that plugs into your iPhone using an app that I'll recommend. That's it. So for $60, you could be a podcaster. And iTunes is free, and I think you should be onto that. Just another example. So far I've had nearly 1.5 million total downloads between my 5 podcasts, which is kind of weird when you think about it, because I'm kind of disconnected with how much volume's happening, because it's all happening automatically. Someone's listening right now, many people are listening to something I recorded in the past, and that's leverage, because it's on my asset. Now think about the post you did on Facebook 3 weeks ago. Who's looking at that today? Probably not that many people. Once it's out of the feed, it's gone. Same with Twitter. Like, why build up their asset? But you put it on your website and people find it in Google and you keep referring back to it using some of the techniques that I recommend, it's going to be there for life. So tip, podcast. You want to write that down. It's just absolutely the hottest marketing medium, totally underrated, the easiest to do, and the most powerful. And just to give you a little idea, one thing I have learned, because I've got a bunch of podcasts, I've got Superfast Business, Think Act Get, Freedom Ocean, and Sales Marketing Profit. So I've got like 4 co-hosted podcasts and 1 with just me. And the one that I just do, for me, gets like 5 times more traffic than any of the others. So the key here is frequency. If you want to put out more podcast episodes, you will get a lot more downloads. So get frequent. Okay, so where do you get ideas for all this content? It's great. I'm on board. I've got my site. I want to write these things. I want to do infographics. I gave you some clues where you could get some content, repurposing your interviews. Go to your top 10 customers. Just go to your top 10 customers, look them up in your accounting software or whatever. You probably know them off by heart. And just say, hey, why do you deal with us? What do you think's good? What challenges are you having? Just have a discussion with them, and or take them to coffee if they're local. If they're overseas, get on Skype. And after that, you should have written down at least 10 things that you could post about. Figure out why they're your best customer. What are they buying? Why did they choose you? What is it that you explain that no one else has? What's your point of difference? Because they'll tell you. The other thing is make sure that your emails are replyable too. You know that bullshit thing where you've on some guru's list and you see a typo and you reply back and it says, not found, go to here, create a support ticket, enter your DNA sample and put the PIN number. Like, you can't reach these people. They might as well tell you just to piss off. It's impersonal. It's just rude. So make sure someone could hit reply to your email and it actually comes to you, and then actually answer it. You'll blow people away. Now, in fairness, my email list is probably fairly small at 25,000 people, and I broadcast to, on average, about 20,000 people every couple of days. So I'm sending them 100,000, 100-something thousand emails a month. I don't get so many replies that I can't handle it. Just get 1 or 2. Mostly it's like, thank you so much for that post about, not spending my whole life on Facebook. It was a slap in the face and I needed it. That sort of stuff. You can get validation, and you know which content's working because they get replies. So I would definitely recommend that. Go to your support desk. And if you don't have a support desk, get a support desk, because email doesn't scale. Email support doesn't scale. If you're trying to support people via email, you are a very small operator and you're not going to get big because it's unscalable. So it works fine up to a couple of $100,000 a year, but it's not going to get you $1 million, $2 million, $5 million business. You're not doing email support. So get a support desk. They're cheap, easy. Then you can hire people to run it. That was one of my first hires, was get someone else to run my support desk, because I was answering 5 or 6 tickets a day and thinking, this isn't very useful. I don't think Richard Branson would be doing this. So I think I should get a support desk. It cost me $500 a month or $1,000 a month back then, and it freed me up. And now I have 6 or 7 people running my support desk. They have 500 tickets. And I just have to just log in there and read the tickets, and I could tell you the next 100 articles that I could to talk about, because it'll be whatever someone asks me in my support desk. What's the difference between the pre-done website or a custom website? Or, okay, there's a blog post. And most of my content's driven from customers' questions. Also, go to Google, type in your phrase or whatever your market is, and go down the bottom of the page, and it's got all these related suggestions, and you'll find ideas there. Case studies, super simple. Well, I've got a whole podcast on this exact specific premise. It's called Sales Marketing Profit, and all we do is a case study. So we have whole episodes where we talk about where our customer was before they met us, and then we talk about what happened to them, what did we do, how did we fix their problem, and what was their after result, and then we prescribe action steps. Of course, one of them is to join our coaching mastermind or our community, and it works really, really well for that. But from the comments we get and the amount of change we've been able to create, the case study format is just a super way to come up with content. Go back to your customer base, see what you already did for people, and document it. Ask them if they'd be happy to come on board with that. Interview them on your podcast, or interview them and have it transcribed and turn it into a blog post, or get them on video. Or if they don't want to put their name, just talk about a scenario, and you can do that. Also, from your own courses, here's something that I do. It's kind of sneaky but cool. Is every month I run a circa 60, 70-minute live training with my Superfast Business membership customers. And I answer their questions. I give them, I think I'd break it into like 8 or 9 sections, 6 or 7 minutes each. And at the end of it, I give my team the recording. And what they do is they chop it up. And they'll pull out 3 or 4, 5 or 6 minute sections, and they will put it on my public blog. So I've only done 1 hour of content per month, and my team will then turn that into 4 or 5 blog posts, which they put out there each month. And of course it says, this 5-minute extract is from our monthly 60 or 70-minute training webinar, and you can now access this 5 minutes for free. If you like what you see, come and join the community. And also access all the previous recordings. And this drives sales. We make sale every day from this. And I've only had to do 1 hour up front. Okay? Use your own experiences. So one of my best videos was when I was in Maranello in Italy, and I went to the Ferrari museum, and then we test drove a Ferrari, and I made a video there. My kid was holding the camera, and it's like wobbly, and it was kind of fun, but it was one of the most viewed videos that I did, and I just latched onto the brand. I talked about how a strong brand can be such an emotional driver for people. Like Ferrari's a very well-known brand, and for most red-blooded males in the world, it's an aspirational thing they'd like to have or to drive. So I hit the target with that one. Also surveys. Ask people why they bought, and put that back into a post. Highlight your reason why someone should buy from you. And of course, live events. The questions I'll get asked here before and after when I present, and when I go to my local meetups each month, I'm sitting there with 25 of my best customers who are paying to belong to my community, and they're asking me questions for 3 or 4 hours. I could create a year's worth of content from that by just listening. What's your biggest challenge right now? What are you struggling with? Why did you join my membership? How did you find me? And I'll tell you what they always say. Can you guess? Podcast. Yes. Okay. Remember to look at your analytics. It's going to leave clues, all right? Google Webmaster Tools has really improved. They show you the search queries. They show you the click-through rates. They show you who's linking to you. So that's a really sort of untapped thing. And now you can integrate that into your normal Google Analytics. So not just Google Analytics, but have a look at other analytics. Your Webmaster Tools, and then any number of third parties, and I'll show you a couple more. So you've got to prepare for this stuff. I just tip all my ideas in Evernote like an online filing cabinet, and what you're looking for is relevance and context. It has to be relevant. There's no point talking about stuff you want to talk about unless your customer finds that it's relevant to them, and it's got to mean something to them. So tell them how this applies to them, and just be a problem solver. If you just said, what's your challenge, and then you solve it with your content, easy. Use a chocolate-coated carrot. That means like people need the vegetables, but they want the chocolate, so I just dip the vegetables in the chocolate. And sell it the way they want to hear it, but then give them what they need. So example, sales training. Everyone who sells sales training talks about closing techniques when in fact closing is bullshit. It's all about opening and investigating and solving the actual problem, and then it will close itself. But people want to hear about closing techniques. So they sell it with the chocolate, but they'll deliver, hopefully, the carrot. Be careful about automation. There's any number of tools that scrape and repurpose and spin and that. You want to just forget about all of that. It's a manual game, this. You want to be doing handcrafted stuff. So you've got to produce this. Now, if you're not a writer, I'm not a writer. I mean, the writers are just, they're kind of, they're writer people, aren't they? You know, they write and type, and I'm not like that. I'm different. So what about for us? iPhone, iPad, digital recorder. You can get yourself on Apple TV and your own show with a 1400 by 1400 artwork and some kind of audio device. It's amazing. You could be a fully published Apple author like tomorrow if you want. So any number of episodes. So just some basic gear. From left to right, we've got a lav mic. They'll work on an iPhone these days. Digital recorder. They're like robust and they'll work with just about anything. You've got a shotgun mic, which is what you can use with a digital camera. And you've got a Rode Podcaster. That's a USB. You just turn it into your computer. And that will get you almost broadcast quality if you have a nice quiet room. That's what I use, the one on the top right, the white one. So let's say your equipment, if you want to get the best equipment you can for $600 or so, or whatever they cost, you're in business. And I must have recorded like hundreds and hundreds of hours with that thing, and it's respecting people's eardrums. Cameras, look, iPhone is going to do the job. iPhone is all you need. But if you're doing a lot of face-to-camera stuff from your computer, get a Logitech C920, that little one down the bottom there. It plugs into your computer via USB. You don't have to dick around with focusing or memory cards or anything. You just record straight to your computer. That's what I use for my weekly news updates for my members, because it just works really well and it's high quality. And if you want to get really professional looks with the blurred stuff, I use a DSLR camera, and you can get them for hundreds of dollars, not thousands. I'm using a Canon 60D, but there's probably newer versions now. Maybe there's a 70D, but that gets you the super awesome blurry look. And that's how I make my high quality videos. If I'm going to do a sales video, I'm going to get the proper camera. So for my live event, we use a DSLR camera, and the imagery on that is phenomenal. And those videos, which are documentary-style case studies, they will sell 150, 200 tickets just because it looks quality, it feels quality, and it's worth that few $100s, or even hiring someone with a proper camera. If you're going to use your iPhone or iPad, use this app, Tilt Shift Video, because you can process your video after you film it and adjust the colors and the blur, and you'll get really DSLR-like outputs from just your iPad. So when I travel, which last year was a fair bit, I just take an iPad mini and then I process it in this, and that's going to get you great video quality. You need to have good lights if you're making videos, so that's the number one thing that people miss is proper lighting. You don't want shadows on your face and stuff, so either use direct sunlight or get even lighting and close all the blinds. Also, you can get things like remotes. So I made a lot of videos by myself. You get a turnaround camera on your DSLR and use a remote. You can sort of autofocus, start and stop. Be careful what you wear. When this video went out, someone asked if that's poo on my shirt. And I like, yes, I always video with poo on my shirt. I like the smell of it. It's just a brown pattern. And people, it just shows you how visual people are. They're looking at all sorts of things. You get weird comments. They're like, oh, you look a bit, you've stacked on a bit of weight there, have you? Or they refer to how bald you are, whatever. Just be prepared to be critiqued. I actually put it to my audience because someone said, oh, you just look scruffy, you don't shave. And to be fair, I was scruffy. And so when I look back now, I think I can see why they'd say that. So I said, would you like me to shave for my videos? And would you want me to dress up? So I made a little video. I did the before. That was me with a not shaved and just casual attire, that's pretty much how I used to roll. That was me with nothing. And that's me with a shirt and shaved. And I said, what do you want? And what I found was that people who don't know me they'd have a better impression of me if I'm shaved in a better shirt. People who know me don't give a shit what I wear because they like my content. So it was costing me on the front end some people who don't know me. So put some attention to your appearance, but still retain the you. You know, I'm not going to be up here in a pinstripe suit and a pink tie, you know, doing the whole Joel Bauer thing. We can walk around the audience and all that sort of stuff. That's fake to me. That's not being yourself. Okay, so I got a lot of comments on that too. People like to have an opinion. Have you ever noticed that? They want to tell you what they think, so ask them. And also utilize. I came out to my backyard one day and my kids' trampoline had been demolished by a windstorm. So I was doing a roving camera report. You know, I had the iPhone. I'm here now at the scene. The trampoline's been destroyed, and it's a great reminder in your business to, you know, prepare for disasters if you possibly can. So I used that situation as a marketing lesson. Also, when I drove back from a conference, I rented a car from Santa Barbara back to Los Angeles, and there was this guy at the airport having a coffee, and he was asked if I could give him a lift to the bus station. I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "Los Angeles." And I said, "Oh, well, do you want to ride?" And he said, "Sure." So I didn't even know his name, but he'd been to the same conference. And I said, "Hey, did you take notes?" And he said, "Yep." I said, "Oh, thank God." All right, so we're gonna record something on the way back down, if that's right. And I wrapped the little lav mic around the rear view thing. Oh, I played a trick on him. When I went up to the car, I got in the wrong side. I'm like, shit, there's no steering wheel. And he's like, and then I got in and I'm like, oh no, it's manual. And he's like, do you even have a license? So I was just messing with him. So he was a good sport. And I got him to read out from his notes while we're driving, and we recorded it. And I actually did a review of the Entrepalooza thing, and the good folks at Entreport actually listened to it and shared it with their team and took the feedback that we gave them about how they could improve, and they used it for the next year, and they invited me back, to report on the event. So here's an angle. Podcasting, you don't have to be a marketer or whatever. You could be press. Okay, you could be a reporter. You could probably get yourself into events, industry things. If you start saying to people, look, I'd be interested in inviting such and such to be on my show. We report on industry events, blah, blah, blah. It's all positioning, okay? So just think about how it might serve you. But I get invited to events whenever they're on. I can go to pretty much any event in the United States without having to pay, because they want me to go there and to tell people what I find, because I've got a platform to publish. I'm a publisher. When I was at doing the test drive, they had a little camera in the car, so I was able to insert that video footage into the Ferrari thing. And it's this guy going faster, faster, faster. And like, he's crazy. And it got a lot of engagement. So just utilize stuff. Remember with your YouTube channel to do a little welcome video for new people, to tell them to subscribe. Okay, I'm not massive onto YouTube marketing. I much prefer to put my stuff on my site. But if people are going to go to YouTube, if they find you, I mean, you should have a channel there, and make sure that they subscribe to you. Now, to make these videos, if you don't want to go on camera, fine. Do what I'm doing. See, this is a slideshow. I could easily just do a voiceover and talk through this presentation, which I often do. That's how I deliver my information products. And I use Keynote because I'm a Mac guy. But if you're Windows, you could use PowerPoint. And then if you're a Mac person, you use ScreenFlow to put the audio and to edit it. And that's also what I use to edit all my audios and all my videos before I got my editor to do it, which is a huge, huge godsend. I don't have to edit anything anymore. I just record and give it to them. And Camtasia Studio for your PC. So what I do, I get my audio or video. As soon as I've finished, I hit stop. I just drag it into Dropbox, and someone in my team picks it up at the other end, and they'll top and tail it. They'll cut out any ums and ahs if I have any, and often there are none anymore because I've done so many. And then they'll upload it to my site. So I don't have to do that process, and I highly recommend at some point you get someone else to do this for you. Auphonic is a great tool. You can just put audios or videos in there, and it'll clean up the sound and balance the levels, and then drop it into whatever media platform you want. It can even add an intro and an outro. So it's very, very cool audio tool. Have fun illustrations. People are image driven. Like my team members made a joke about me with this, and I shared it, and it got a lot of likes. Use your own camera. I took these pictures with an iPhone. Yeah, that's where I live, and that's someone's boots. It's Dory Friend, actually. She's an SEO goddess, and take these photos with your camera, and they're really sort of different and interesting. And I use this app called Camera Plus to change some of the filters and settings, so you can do some really good artwork with just an iPhone. Borrow stuff. Like if you find a good YouTube video you want to use, go and embed it on your site, or a good infographic on my site, you can embed it on your site. It's got even a little bit of code there, so you don't have to come up with anything. You just got to find it and then bring it back and put it on your site. This post was some documentary from a car manufacturer, and I got a heap of comments and a lot of likes and shared it. I actually saw the documentary. I thought, that's awesome. I saw it on Facebook. Someone pasted it in their Facebook wall. I went to Google. I found it on the YouTube channel, took the YouTube video and put it on my site, which they allow you to do, and then I sent it out to my email list. So instead of just clicking like on someone else's Facebook, I'm like, I'm going to take that and I'm going to use that. So that was good. So now you've got to publish and then promote, right? So you've put this thing on your site. Again, avoid robotic sort of mass syndication things. I don't use that stuff. I'm not using the Buffalies and thises and that's, because it's not natural, and you're going to get in trouble from the big bad panda or the penguin, right? They look out for manipulation and patterns. Now, we do over $1 million a year of SEO, so we really do understand this stuff. And we're still standing in a market where pretty much everyone got decimated. Almost every one of our clients went up after the latest release of Panda, because our customers are doing the right thing and a lot of people are doing the wrong thing. So I've always talked about this octopus method, your website being the head of the octopus, and now you want to use all your tentacles. This is where you do use social media. You use them to get the best results you possibly can. So this is sort of the overview. I'm just going to show you what it looks like from a technical perspective. So you want to have these little sharing icons on your site. What you don't want is a big, huge Facebook fan box on the homepage of your site bleeding people off your site to Facebook, because that's like really dumb, isn't it? When you think about it. It's like, thanks for visiting my site. Now, could you go to Facebook, please? Why do people do that? I don't get it. Okay, so put these little sharing things. You want people to share your stuff. So when you have a look, this post came out yesterday on my site, so it's a good example. I've got these little sharing icons, and then I just go along and click on them. And I click on the tweet, and it pulls this information in, and I just hit tweet. Then on our post, we always have tweetables. We pre-do tweets to make it easy for people to share it on Twitter. And people do just click on it if they like it. So try and come up with some copywriting hooks. And then we've got the Pinterest. And I've got a Pinterest board for infographics, which is really, really popular, and you'll see in a minute. And again, it pulls in the image and it puts a description. And then I've got Google+. Of course, you don't want to miss out on Google+, the hot thing that it is. It's a little bit joke there. Now, you custom write the description here. This is where using manually doing this yourself means you can trim it for your audience. Put a bit of intrigue or mystery or whatever. It pulls in the picture. And basically, this is my Facebook one. Again, a customized description for my Facebook crowd. It will pull in a picture. It's going to link to the site. So when it gets up there, people are going to click on it. They're going to come back to my site, and that's what I want. Does it actually work? Well, according to this is my analytics over the last year. I did sell $46,708 worth of new business, because it's only tracking new business, from my social media syndications. So yes, it absolutely works. That was for me clicking on my posts a couple of times a week. Is that a good trade? Yeah. Okay. Measure. So here's a great tool, BuzzSumo. Go to BuzzSumo, type in your website and your competitors' websites, and just see what bits of their content are kicking butt. So I had 250 Pinterest shares of my What You Should Know About Content Marketing Today in Numbers infographic. It's no surprise there, right? Then of the other ones, I'm getting a lot of Facebook activity. It seems to me that my market likes the Facebook stuff. So I'm just going to drill down on one of these posts, and we're going to see what it looks like. So what gets 270 shares? So how to develop your next course. I've got a video there, which is it's actually an extract from one of my training sessions from memory. Underneath that is the PDF document where people can get the course template. So it's a highly valuable thing. So how many people will convert on that? Well, they're going to click on it, they're going to put in their email address, and if they've already put their email address before, it remembers, and it's going to tag them with this. So I can now tag them by segment. 82% conversions. That means from 828 people who clicked on it, 678 actually went through with the click. High conversions. So content upgrades. Let people get a better version of what they're reading on your site for free. You can take audios if you want. SpeakPipe is one tool that you can use. So let people record an audio and then put it into your podcast. And remember to get people subscribed to everything, not just your email list, but also your Facebook friends, your YouTube, your iTunes. You want them everywhere. All right, so just a little couple of minutes on how you can get to a little bit more relaxed state, okay? Because this is the little bonus part about how the business doesn't have to kill your life. Because honestly, does an extra $10 million in the account matter if you're sitting there in your suit and tie like some stockbroker in New York for 16 hours a day? I don't want that. So I see a lot of people get all wound up about this, and I coach high-level people, and pretty much every single person I start with, we go through similar exercises. I'm going to share with you just a little compressed version. Are you ready? So if you feel like a Tetris game that's about to finish, then this should help you. I've visited people's houses, and this is their setup, and it's like, how do they get anything done? So first, get a decent computer, fastest internet you can get, and clear your desk of all the crap. Because if this is your desk, you're not going to be successful, I can assure you. If you've got an old, outdated PC, it doesn't process, you can't connect to the internet, and you've got crap everywhere, you're set to fail. And I've worked in internet speeds of under 1 Mbps, and I can tell you it massively hurts my productivity. Don't try and do everything yourself. Unless you want to be a professional web developer, you shouldn't be touching your website. You should be hiring someone like me to have my team install it and to be ready tomorrow, instead of you dicking around pretending that you're busy for the next 6 months trying to build a website. You are kidding yourself. Rescue time. This is where you get to say, this is the time I want to be spending on my computer. You know, where am I spending it? And Rescue Time will just send you a weekly report. It's free, and it'll say, you spent this long on stuff. Most people are going to spend all their time on their inbox, a lot of time on Facebook, YouTube, and this is a harsh honesty thing. It's going to tell you what you're doing, and this will help you regulate. For me, if I started to hit 25 hours a week or 35 hours a week, I'm like, whoa, I'm getting out of control here. Inbox is where most people are wasting all their time. Remember, the inbox is the to-do list that other people add things to. So unsubscribe from everything. That's the secret. Don't let people send you stuff. Unless they're trying to buy something or giving you feedback, you should set filters for it to go somewhere else or have a help desk. So less in, more out. Get off all those subscriptions. Start sending the emails for people to buy your stuff. Okay, so I'm using Schedule Once. That's when I put a little block in my calendar each week, which is usually like Wednesday or Thursday, where people can book me. And it's for my high-level customers or a podcast interview, and the rest of the days are mine. That means I don't work Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday if I don't want. I'm only talking to strangers on Wednesday or Thursday. That's it, because I can set this, and it's fantastic. So where should you spend your attention? You want to reduce down the amount of stuff that the public have access to, and you want to be spending more privately. So what does it look like on a balance sheet? Basically, public stuff is where they can just email you. You want to move them to a support desk. Get it away from it. Stop doing support. Get off Facebook and start spending time in proper paid communities where people are qualified by a dollar amount, because you get the worst advice ever on these Facebook groups. I've seen some lady struggling for the last week trying to get answers, and people give the most stupid answers, and then within 1 hour I've given her the absolute best advice she could ever use, and she got an instant result because she went to a qualified environment. Phone, use your scheduler. Just don't let people talk to you unless you've already filtered them, they've watched your video, they've filled out the application, and now they've got to your scheduling tool. So when the time is on, you're on, and when the time is off, it's your time off. Get off Skype, because you're going to get stupid birthday notifications, and you're going to be having people hit you up with stuff, and move to Slack. That's what we use to run our team. And honestly, YouTube's probably optional. So hopefully life's a little bit simpler for you. That's all I got. Hope you enjoyed that.